We went from paying rent to collecting rent, and we're going to share our detailed blueprint on how we became landlords at 26.
And I think a big thing we want to push is like this didn't happen overnight. These were a lot of little steps that went back all the way to like college. And we can break down what those steps were and how it wasn't just one big overnight success. So yeah, where do you want to start? Start with college?
Yeah, sure.
So personally, I went to school for engineering. I got a job right out of school, luckily, and I was making $60,000 a year, which was a pretty good salary for back then. This was in 2016, so not that long ago, but 2016, and you went to school?
Yeah, so I graduated a year later. I graduated with a business degree, and my first job out of college paid me absolutely nothing. It was 100% commission-based, no benefits. I definitely don't advise doing that. But yeah, that was how I kicked off into the real world.
Yeah, and we started, I would say we started with zero, but really we started negative. I mean, we started with the degrees, which is great, but I did have student debt, which I pretty much immediately was able to pay off, thankfully, because I did have internships. I worked summer jobs, and the second I graduated and that interest was going to hit, I immediately paid it off. So I was pretty quickly able to get ahead of my college debt just because of that, which I'm definitely happy that I did that. Thankful that I was able to cover that. I know a lot of people go into the work world with a ton of debt, and I was able to get ahead of that, luckily. But my point is we started at zero, if not negative, and then kind of build from there. The other thing that we did early on, at least for me, when I turned 18, I applied for my first credit card. The goal was to start building credit. The goal was, I knew how important credit was back then. I wanted to get that history, and this actually ended up impacting you.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was, of course, advised to not get a credit card and, I wasn't taught about credit or anything like that. I feel like most people can relate. And then after I had graduated, I went to apply for a credit card and I got denied, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I very quickly learned at 22 years old, like how important credit is. And that's when I really started taking my personal finances journey very seriously. So it was a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people online that will tell you you don't need credit, or there's ways around it, and that is true. You can get around no credit. Bad credit is difficult to get around. You can definitely rebuild it, but it takes time, and honestly, we're in a world where you just need it. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's the kind of the structure the banks and loans and everything was just based on. So it's kind of either use it
as a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool. And if you are able to have good credit like Kevin is suggesting, it's really a superpower in your toolkit for sure.
Yeah, and now when we apply for car loans, bank loans, which we'll get into, it's not a question. We're able to get qualified for almost any loan we want, obviously within reason, because we immediately have great credit and they know we're going to pay them back. But anyways, that's kind of where it started, was way back building credit, coming out of school, getting ahead of that college debt as soon as possible. Because if you're starting in a hole, it's just you're making your life you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So it started way back then. We ended up working our way just in the corporate America. I know you bounced around through to Citibank, other places.
I worked and Citibank is a good one. And something, that I learned at Citibank with high net worth individuals is what they were doing with their money and what they did for work and all of those kind of conversations I was exposed to really young at like 23, 24 years old. Right. And that really shaped my exposure to, maybe I should go look into real estate and other things. So it was a great foundation.
Yeah, and I think that drives home a point, like, just because our college ended didn't mean our learning ended. So we were big avid learners after college, but in things we were interested in. Like, we were no longer just forced to take classes, right? So I know you just mentioned learning from people around you. I know you had a couple other mentors. You learned about real estate, but then you read a couple books. We started listening to podcasts, and the whole point is we just got educated, and we learned everything from drop shipping. I'm sure everyone has been informed of. We started our own business at one point in time with something else. we just were learning. A food company we were looking at one point. Like we were just trying to, things that interested us, just started learning. And eventually we ended up on the real estate pages.
Yeah, and before I think we dive into there, we had very different corporate experiences. And I think something that I always really admired about Kevin is when he was choosing a job, he was really attentive to the full package of, health insurance, 401k, do they match, or their employee stock options. And I think the foundation of our kind of personal finance journey was, of course, yes, building a savings, but you had 401k match from the jump. So that got your exposure, into the market. And then that later snowballed into individual stocks, the S&P, and then you set individual goals from there. And then naturally working for a bank, I was exposed to all of that stuff on a daily basis. And that got me investing into the market as well. So it's not like, and sorry, that built our risk tolerance. I feel like.
That's true. It took like buying a property the first time felt like the unbelievable risk. Looking back, I don't think it was at all, but I think it was like we slowly built up to that, to your point, where we invested a little bit of money into the S&P. Then we invested a little bit of money into maybe individual stocks, but still blue chip stocks like Apple, big ones. Then maybe a little bit into more risky stocks. Like we kept kind of leveling up a little bit. And I mean, the whole goal was to have money work for us, right?
Yeah, we understood that very early on. And then even when it came to personal savings, high yield savings accounts and the importance of that. So I think, just my overarching point here, and then we can kind of move on to the real estate specifically, is we had such a strong foundation with just managing our cash and diversifying our portfolio in the market. And then we were eventually ready to take on real estate. And we didn't
spend money too. I feel like the first, I don't know, I mean, we did long-term relationship for a while, or long-distance relationship, and that was the gas to do that back and forth from New York to Boston was like our only expense. Like I don't remember us going out to eat much. We certainly didn't go out to bars or clubs with friends. We certainly didn't travel too much. I mean, it was truly like we were working and saving money every dollar. I mean, I remember buying a pizza down the street was like my big splurge, like once every 6 months, which I know sounds ridiculous, but I think in the moment, like I was young, I was hungry, I was ready to, like I had bigger goals in mind than going out and spending $100 on an Uber in Boston.
Yeah.
So I think we were really diligent with savings, and it was kind of that whole mindset of sacrificing today for tomorrow, which I think is what set us up to be able to afford a down payment ultimately in the real estate. So I don't know, now you wanted to get into the real estate?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think how old we were.
It probably was only 25 maybe?
Yeah, we were probably like right in our mid-20s at this point, and we started to explore real estate. Like Kevin kind of mentioned earlier, I had some mentors earlier in my career that were flipping houses actually in the Poconos, and it was a great experience for me because while I was still dipping my toes in the stock market and building up my savings, hearing these conversations of talking to contractors, getting under contract, what partnerships looked like, because they were in partnerships with other people. And it was really chirping in my ear, and I started to consume that content. So I wanted to find something that was really accessible for us. And I think like a lot of people, we explored it all. It's like the shiny object syndrome, right?
But quickly on that, I just like for contrast, I didn't know anyone I didn't talk to anyone in real estate. Like no one, I can't think of anyone I knew directly that was a landlord, owned any aspect of real estate other than their primary home maybe. But at that time, I don't think I knew a single person that was doing it. So just wanted to throw that out there. Like just because you had a mentor, like it's still like I got exposed through just, again, learning books, podcasts, talking to you, just talking to people, right? You learn what they're doing. So, then we started diving into every type of real estate you can even imagine. Like we didn't know what we wanted. So similar to like, let's learn everything about stocks and businesses and real estate. Let's learn everything about different types of real estate we dove into because we didn't know what we wanted to do. And the best place to start is just kind of diving in and learning.
Yeah, and of course, I think initially our first goal was, okay, well, we were renting in Boston at this point in time, and we said, okay, maybe let's start with a primary residence. And then we were like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Maybe we should try the investment properties first. And just as an example, a home that we actually put an offer in like central western Massachusetts, it was an amazing house. It was a farmhouse, and it had the most beautiful, well, I say beautiful, it was completely run down and needed a renovation.
Yeah, it needed a big renovation.
But it was huge, and there was so much potential. It was a barn, and directly across the street was a horse stable. So we initially thought, like, oh, wow, like, wouldn't this be really great? We would have our primary home, and instead of having tenants as like people, we can make a deal with the people across the street for any excess horses and rent out the stables. So and we actually,
which is a business model. Like if you look into it, if you happen to be in that position, it is a business model that people do where they rent the stalls to horses or owners. And,
yeah, of course it's people.
Yeah, I know, but the horses are there. So just if that ever interests you, it was a workable model. But I think we ended up putting an offer in.
No, we put in an offer. We went so hard. We wrote a letter. We put our picture.
Wanted that.
We really wanted it, and they basically told us to kick rocks, which was fine.
Yeah,
but
for the better, for sure.
But anyways, that was our, first time like putting in an offer and really thinking about how we can make money with our initial investment.
Right. I think that the whole thought of like, how are we going to afford this? It's like, well, let's look at the bigger picture. It's like, this is our mortgage. If we filled out these stalls with horses, we would be able to actually afford the mortgage and potentially make money. And then we could even grow it from there by adding add-ons like training and walking the horses, all the different things you could do. So the ideas were there.
They had a beautiful piece of land too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that idea quickly transferred into like, well, obviously if you can have horses as tenants, you can have people as tenants. So I think we quickly transitioned into looking into properties all over New England, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, of course, Connecticut. I mean, we saw a lot of properties, multifamily properties.
And I think something for us too, like we were completely priced out of Massachusetts at that point. And I think something that was important for us is we really expanded our blueprint. We were so all in that we're just going to uproot our lives and do what we needed to do, because what we found through our research is house hacking, which ultimately what we ended up moving forward with was our barrier to entry. And I think once we realized that house hacking really lowered that entry point for us, because when you house hack, you can put as little as 3.5% to 5% down on a property. And that completely changed the game for us. So once we realized that we didn't need a full 20% down payment, I mean, off to the races.
It opens the doors, yeah. So you can qualify for a mortgage using the tenants' payments that they're making to you, their rent every month. So you might qualify for a slightly higher mortgage. But yeah.
Awesome. So getting more into our first deal. So we ended up expanding our blueprint. We came across Providence, Rhode Island for multiple different reasons. It worked for us. It was a growing market. The price point was accessible, attainable for us.
That was probably the biggest reason, was the price point. I think a lot of people want to live where they want to live, and I totally get that, but sometimes you're just priced out of the market and you got to suck it up a little bit and go to where you may not want to live. And it may only be for a temporary situation, but yeah.
But suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, and like, I think the other argument I hear a lot, it's like, well, I got to commute to work and all that. That's true. I was already commuting an hour to work, and at the time I was like, yeah, I would be willing to commute an hour and a half, because I knew the potential of starting this process of owning property and having tenants and growing that potential portfolio at the time.
And timing's funny too, because this was
coincidentally,
it was COVID times.
Well, COVID wasn't a thing we were looking. Right as we bought the property, COVID hit.
Yeah, pretty much. And fortunately, I was already remote at the time, so my location didn't really matter, but yours did, and then it ended up being fully remote anyways. But that was just kind of a little bit of luck.
Yeah, definitely got a little, lucky depending on how you look at it.
It wasn't a good time.
COVID was an interesting time, but the market was incredibly hot then. I mean, we were up against so many different variables. But I mean, again, I want to focus on us becoming landlords, like the steps to get there. And one thing I think we missed was going through the mortgage process.
Oh, yeah.
We talked to so many lenders throughout this process. We had one lender for the horse barn. And then we continued to talk to multiple lenders since then. And you kind of just learn, similar to like just getting out there and doing it and putting in an offer, you learn by doing. So, I mean, how many people did we get on the phone with and talk to?
Countless, yeah.
How many times did we get yelled at? Because I think at the time...
Oh my God, they hated us. Like, no one wanted to talk to two 25-year-old unmarried people that wanted to buy a house together. Like, nobody wanted to talk to us.
Right. So, yeah, they didn't take us seriously. Realtors didn't take us seriously. It was an uphill battle for sure.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we submitted offers on other houses that we didn't get.
But ultimately what we learned from talking to so many people is because we were not married, we were able to just put one of us on the mortgage, which qualified, of course, the first-time home buyer and the low money down.
What saved us for a future first-time home buyer.
Correct. Yeah. And then so when we wanted to scale our portfolio, which is a conversation for another video, we were able to use first-time home buyer again. Right. Which is ultimately what we ended up doing. Yeah,
so I think like a big moral, like it's coming full circle a little bit here. Like you got to think like 2, 3, 4, if not 5 years down the road. Like building credit in the moment wasn't super important in that very moment, but down the road it really did impact us. Making a savings and saving all the little bit of money wasn't super important in that moment. It would have been more fun to go on vacation, but we wouldn't have been able to afford to do this or buy a property so young.
Right.
And then the first-time home buyer, like you just said, if we didn't consider only the options and talk to different people, if we didn't think, okay, we want to buy more properties down the road, let's conserve one of our first-time home buyers because we're in that position of not being married just yet, which is a risky thing, I think, for a lot of people to do. We knew we were getting married anyways, so it's just a little bit different situation. But again, my point is thinking holistically about what are your goals and how are you going to achieve them. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. If you decide tomorrow, I want to be a landlord, it's probably not going to happen in a month. Probably won't even happen in 6 months or a year. Could you? Maybe. I'm sure there's people out there that just decided and do it and they're very successful. But I guess I just wanted to push in this video that like it was a long time coming. There was a lot of hiccups along the way. I mean, we glazed over a lot of them, but it was 5, 6, 7 years of like just mentally preparing for this. And sometimes you don't even know what you're preparing for. Like when we were investing in stocks at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think we even realized we were kind of just learning about basic investing to ultimately grow that into a portfolio of investments that we owned ourselves.
Right. And I think we can get more into the specifics now of our first deal.
Sure.
So it was a 2-family home. And the reason why it was so appealing to us was because it was ginormous. It had a full 3rd floor that was like unfinished and like semi-used, which was kind of crazy. And the yard size was also huge too. It also was like a 2-lot. It was like a half lot though.
Yeah.
Something that we kind of entertained with maybe doing something down the line with that. But yeah, it was
a classic value add property that we could add value and we could house hack it, meaning live in it and also have a renter, which we inherited. I think in future videos we can go through all the different properties, the stories that go along with each one, as there are some great stories. But in this video, we just wanted to keep it at how we went from 0, if not negative, to 1 in the story along the way.
So stick around. I think we're going to do a part 2 of this video and talk about all of the details of that first property in the duplex. So if you like this video, hit subscribe, like, and leave any comments below.
Thanks, guys.